Welcome back, everybody, to our second practice of Kum Nye. Last week we touched on just kind of a little bit more of that intro and 7 gestures, how to sit, kind of what the focus was of doing Kum Nye, this meditative yoga. So just to kind of pick up where we left off last week, we were kind of talking about getting caught up in your everyday routine and not being aware of your body. This week, we're going to talk about well-being for a few minutes, which is that conjunction of finding that space and accountability in your body and in your mind as well, and then using them to kind of refuel each other and being aware and recalling your sense of being. So a lot of the time we go through our lives and our focus is on production, it's on doing something, and it's not on being. And a lot of the time this looks like kind of what we talked about last week, accomplishing tasks, marking things off our to-do lists, and etc. But while we do that, a lot of the time our mind starts going and kind of takes us out of the moment that we're in, and we start to expect and plan for the future, which means our body and our mind is out here doing this, and our body is still doing this. And so we are like split in our focus, our total focus of our body and mind well-being in the presence of where we are. Even more, when we allow our minds to wander in anxiety or fear or depression or these things that kind of like get you turning on a hamster wheel in your own mind, it really separates the being of the body and the being of the mind. And this looks even more extended when we allow our minds to really race without our bodies. So our bodies are going through our daily grind, class, sitting in the car, sitting at home, taking care of our kids, cooking dinner, and our mind is just running with fear, with anxiety, with plans of what to do the next day, how we failed the day before, and that really displaces the mind. So if we're just focusing on doing and our body's kind of like lagging to catch up because we're not giving our body space and accountability, that's kind of our normal standard, right? And then when we really ramp it up and we get that hamster in our mind going on that wheel about fear, anxiety, how we failed things, then that mind really takes off and leaves our body behind, and our well-being just gets more and more stretched. And that is discomfort and stress, and it's hard to come back to ourselves, which is actually where we could rest in and deal with these anxieties, deal with these stressors. So last week we just talked about awareness of how to find the mind and the body. This week we're going to work a little more. It'll feel the same a lot of the time, but just focus more, and I'll try to guide you into focusing on this more, on the idea that we are trying to come back and align these things so that we can continue this cycle of well-being, where through our body we are present, through our mind we are present, through our body we're present as well, etc., etc., etc. So one's not chasing the other. So this week we're going to start with a standing pose, then we'll come back and sit. We'll go over 7 gestures again, and then we'll do another pose sitting. And I think that'll wrap up our 30 minutes. So hopefully y'all have your cushion and blanket or mat underneath that will support your ankles when we're sitting and meditating and reflecting. All right. So for this first posture, we are going to have our feet shoulder length apart. If you joined us on Facebook Live, this is the same exercise and stretch that we did on there as well, but it's a very good one to do. It really draws in your awareness to your sensitivity in your body and kind of reclaiming the mind. So we start here with our feet shoulder width apart and our hands at our sides. We want to work on that spine being straight as well. Remember that string at the top, we kind of pull it taut. Yes, so our vertebrae are kind of stacked right on top of each other. Keep your knees gently relaxed, but not totally bent, and you don't want them locked straight because that can lead to passing out. So, shoulder width apart, hands at our sides, and we're just going to start raising our hands slowly. With the palms out in front of us. Slowly raise them up. You want to keep the shoulders down. You don't want the shoulders going up with the arms. This is just the arms and the fingers stretching. As we get to the top, Stretch out those fingers. Feel that energy through the fingers. So we're keeping them active. Now we're going to start to bend at the waist. You want to keep our hips and our legs grounded. And we're going to bend right at the waist. You want to keep everything in line. So we're reaching out as well as down. So you don't want to just go straight down. You want to go out and down. You also don't want to lead with the head where the head's going down like this. You want the head to stay between the biceps. Make sure not to lock your knees. Keep stretching out and down. You might feel some of the tension in your lower back, and as you get to the midpoint, you'll feel it a little higher up. As we get down to the ground, as you get to the point where you're not really trying to push your stretch, keep extending your fingers, and then let your head hang for a second. You're going to release that tension. You're going to feel that in your neck and the top of your head. Now you're going to be feeling that warmth and that tension possibly in the back of your calves and hamstrings right now. And we're going to come further down and hang, keeping your fingers apart, spread, so they're engaged. And then we're going to come back up slowly. Again, keeping your head between your biceps. Don't want it flopping around or raising up. Stretching out as far as well as up. Right here in that midpoint, you're feeling that pressure in your lower back and your upper shoulders. Don't speed through it, feel it. Breathe through your nose and your mouth at the same time. When you get up here, check your shoulders again. Make sure you're dropping them. They're not raising up. We're going to go do it 2 more times. So slowly, keeping your back straight. Legs not locked. Fingers outstretched. Reaching out as well as down. Keeping your head in between your biceps. Really feeling that tension through that 90-degree angle. As we go down. Feel it in your lower lumbar now. As you get down, remember to keep your fingers spread, keep them engaged, and then hang your head. And back up. Re-engaging your neck and your head between your biceps as you come up. Don't rush this raising up. I'm feeling that heat and that tension right in the middle of my back and ribs, but I don't rush it. I'm present through that with my mind and my body. Checking the shoulders, making sure they're not raised up, pinching near my ears. You're beginning to feel that warmth in your shoulders and your neck from keeping your arms up. We're going to go 1 more time. Remember everything that we're focusing on. I'm going to try not to talk through it a lot. Do not rush it through that tense motion and that tense moment right through the middle here. Keep breathing, soften the stomach. Keep those fingers engaged. Get to the bottom, let that head hang. Come back up. Do not lead with the head. Ooh, right there. Ooh. Go. As you reach the top, we're going to slowly close our fingers, slowly lower our hands. Don't rush this either. This is where a lot of the tension releases. You can feel that warmth and that heat that was building up through these stretches kind of run through your whole body. Stand here for a moment, feeling that residual heat movement. Now slowly go back to our cushions. I'm going to sit in it for a minute or two. Sit however you'd like. But if you know the 7 gestures, the closer you can get to that, better. And we're just going to sit with those feelings. Stay with your body right now. Keep your mind right here. Follow your mind. If it goes, just try to bring it right back to the body and the experience that you were just done having. I can still feel the tension release in these spots right where my shoulder meets my collarbone. I can feel it kind of still evaporating. Maybe not, that's not the right word. Moving through the rest of my body. I can feel in the back here, in my upper back, mid-upper back, the release of the tension that I was feeling as we were dropping down and coming back up, and that muscle that it took to do that slowly. It's now starting to relax, and the heat is dispersing to other places. Don't let that mind wander. Bring it back to the body. Don't judge if it does start to wander. Just kindly bring it back. Just rest in the being, present. All right, we're going to do another standing posture. So let's get back up. This is one of my favorite ones. We also did this in the live practice as well. So again, shoulder length apart with our feet, or a little bit more. This one is going to put a lot of focus on keeping something still and slowly moving something else, which I think is a great metaphor for how we live our best lives as far as being aware and being present and feeding into our well-being continually by keeping our mind and our body aligned. So we're going to start with the same posture we just started with. Nice straight spine and soft shoulders, soft eyes. So we're going to put our hands on our hips, and our hands on our hips kind of monitor how we keep our base grounded. And so we're going to want to keep our hips facing forward, our fingers, these 4 fingers also staying forward, our knees slightly bent, and we are going to turn the torso. So as we slowly do this, you don't want to turn the head, and you don't want to turn the shoulders and the arms, therefore turning the hips, right? We want to keep it set here, grounded. So our bottom half here is grounded, while our top torso part and shoulders, but not the hands and not the hips, turn slowly to the left, with our head staying aligned in front of our chest as well. You want to push it as much as you can without sacrificing the grounding that you've built. When you get to your furthest point, hold it. You can feel the tenseness here as you're kind of jamming your torso around, and you can feel the openness on this side. Notice the stark differences between those feelings. And we're going to come back to neutral and head to the right. Slowly. So you can feel all of the things that are happening in your body as you try to fight with your lower half and your upper half moving. So again, keeping our hips and our hands forward while turning just the torso. And getting to the right side as far as you can, and holding it, locking it in. Feel again the tension on your right side and the openness on your left side. So we come back to center, and we're going to go all the way again to the left. We're going to do this 2 more times. That was 1 rotation. And I can feel my hips. You can almost see them. You can feel my hips. So we start back. We center back again. Start from the right. If you start to lose it, just start from your point of contact, your main hold, and then start again so that you can get the full range of the motion. Here we go. We're going to open up that chest to the front. Our hips should be centered. Again, I think this is a wonderful metaphor for how we should be, is that we should be mutatable. We should be malleable. How about that? We should be malleable in our lives, yet grounded at the same time. Keeping a strong base, but being able to be dynamic. And hold. Feel where that warmth is coming from as you push more to the left. And then we're going to release it by heading back to neutral and recognize and feel what it feels like to let that go. Back to the right. Feel the fight in my shoulder, even my left shoulder, as I'm trying to hold my hips forward. I can still find softness in that left side of the rib. And sometimes the stomach or the throat particularly. I shouldn't be stressing the throat at all. Coming back to the last one. We're going to go neutral and to the left. Ooh, that feeling of release is so nice as we get back to neutral. Be aware of that. All right, going back to the last one onto the left, keeping our hips, pelvis forward. Holding for a moment while we get all the way torqued to the left. Don't forget to breathe. Come back to neutral and onto the right. Holding on the right once you get to that point. Try not to lock your legs. Keep an even breath in your mouth and your nose. Keep feeling that push. A little bit of stress right there that you're putting on the torso. Coming back to neutral. I'm slowly going to return to the cushion and sit for a couple more minutes. Keeping in mind that feeling of being grounded and moving at the same time. Keeping in mind that feeling of that release from the pressure and the stress of the torquing the torso. Focusing on that cycle of well-being by lining up the mind and the body, staying present. Don't make the body chase the mind. Turn the mind back to the body. Still feel the warmth on your sides. Is it dispersed? Where has it gone? Sometimes when you have tension like that gets stored up and it feels like we talked last week, like warmth and heat kind of resonating someplace because you're putting a stress and a pressure on it. And when you let it go, it runs through the body. And that is actual energy that we have generated and kept pent in one area. And as you release it, it kind of gives energy to the whole. It's a nice feeling as I sit here and I can feel the warmth. Even from that first standing exercise we did, I can still feel it running from my neck and shoulders from that first one, and I can feel it emanating from my rib cages here, my rib cage. All right, for our last posture and exercise, we are going to remain sitting. Again, you can sit in your 7 gestures. You can sit a little relaxed if you need a foot in front, or to sit in a chair, or with your knees on the ground and your feet going backwards, whatever is going to be best for you. But we're going to do a slight motion and be holding it for a couple minutes or two. So make sure you're comfortable. Even if you get uncomfortable during the posture, like we said, you can come out of the posture. But now that we're working really with this alignment of body and mind and kind of dealing with those stressful things together and not letting the mind wander so that you're not fully there in the stress. If you are in a posture and you can hold it, I would very much encourage you to do so that when you do get that release, you are going to get that really dramatic change of emotional feeling and physical feeling. All right, so we're going to start sitting cross-legged with our hands, like 7 gestures, flat and in a neutral position. So you start like this, and I'm going to slide my hands back into the hip pockets. And then I'm going to raise my shoulders slowly as I straighten the arms up towards the ears. Keep your neck relaxed. Raising shoulders. Throat relaxed. Chin, head mobile so you can move it around like so. Keeping those shoulders up. When you get to a point, can you take a couple breaths and raise them even higher? Now we're going to hold this for a while. Checking on your throat so you're not tensing your throat and your neck. You want this just to be actively in the shoulders. Breathe through it lightly through your nose and your mouth. Keep them up. Can you raise them a little bit more? Feel sometimes I get a little shaky doing this, but keep them there. Keep them up. Can you raise them a little higher? Feel this tension, you feel this stress, you feel the heat right on your back, at the top of those shoulders. You want everything else relaxed as you have your arms straight and your shoulders up. Don't want to tip your head back. Keep that neutral chin. Feel that warmth, that energy building up in the shoulders, near the neck, but don't let it into the neck. Keep that neck soft. Just a little longer. Keep your mind with us. Can you raise your shoulders a little more? Find the softness in your belly, in your feet. You can find a place to relax in those soft places, or you can direct your mind right into that tension, right into those shoulders. Just be aware of it. Don't judge it. Don't worry about it. If you go into it, just feel the warmth. Just notice the characteristics. Keep breathing. Now we are going to slowly release this. We've been holding this almost for 3 minutes. Now we're going to slowly, very slowly, start lowering the shoulders. Almost so you don't notice it's happening. Notice the heat and the stress and the release. Notice where that all goes. Slide our hands out to neutral again. Keep lowering those shoulders. Feel that release. And what happens to that heat that was knotted up in between your shoulder and your neck? Where did it go? Where does it go? What's it doing? How does that feel? And we're going to sit in it for a couple minutes. I can feel it running down my triceps into my elbows. can still feel the warmth of it. It's almost like a tingly feeling into my forearms. Make sure you're keeping your throat soft. It should have been soft this whole time. If it's not, relax. I can even still feel that residual warmth through my back from that very first stretch and movement. How does that warmth in your back feel compared to the one in your shoulders that we just conjured up? Now we're going to stay seated, and we're just going to close with a little 7 gestures and another little sitting meditation. And then we will finish up. So we went over the 7 gestures in the intro and last week, so I won't go over them in depth, but we'll just kind of count them off and then sit for a couple minutes in the feelings of this practice and the ideas of keeping our body and mind together and not letting one race away or shutting one down. All right, so 7 gestures, sitting cross-legged. I'm going to go ahead and go up into a little bit deeper of a cross leg. So cross legs, hands neutrally on the thighs. Elongate the spine. Remember that string through your spine to the top of your head. Chin, neutral chin. Not out too far or back. Soft eyes. Gentle eyes, focus 6 feet or so in front of you, down a little bit. Keep that space of rice on your lips. Then we're going to breathe through our mouth and our nose at the same time equally. Keep checking in on your body in all of these positions. Keep checking in on where the warmth is from all of our movements. Check where you're holding some extra stress. Or maybe you're not. Where has that heat and that energy gone from the very first exercise? Can you still feel it residually anywhere? How about the second one as we turned our torso? Kept our feet grounded and our legs focused. And the last one, I can still definitely feel the heat in my neck. Was in the shoulders, and as it dispersed, it kind of went up the back of my neck and into my head and down my shoulders and into my triceps and even into my elbows and down to my pinky. close our session. Again, you can do this closing movement with me, or you don't have to. I'm just gathering the karma that we did, bringing it in, being thankful for it, giving it back out. Om Ahum Rajaguru Peme Hum. Om Ahum Rajaguru Peme Hum. Om Ahum Rajaguru Peme Hum. Thanks again for sticking around doing our second practice, and I hope we'll see you next week. Of course, you can like, share, and subscribe to this channel and this video if you so please. Thank you again for checking in and doing this with us, and I will see you next time on Facebook or right here on YouTube.